Now, let's turn our attention to another pressing question in the world of technology. With no-code and AI-driven platforms transforming the way businesses build digital products, how much do we still need traditional technical leadership? Can a company thrive without a dedicated CTO, or is a new approach to development leadership emerging? In our upcoming discussion, Can Your Business Survive Without a CTO? The Rise of No-Code and AI-Led Development, our panelists will explore how these tools are reshaping decision-making, team structures, and innovation strategies. You'll learn from the practical insights, real-world examples, and approaches that help organizations balance speed, governance, and sustainable growth. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our panelists as they take the stage. Today we have Luke Pierce, founder of Boom Automations. We have Chris Burns, the CEO and CSO of Techie Gurus. We also have Shawn Feely, Giju Eldhose, I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly, CEO of ZCALO Inc. MK Palmore, founder and principal advisor at Apogee Global RMS. And they will be joining us shortly. Let's give them a round of applause.
Apologies for the technical delays. We had to get mic'd up. And so while you may be able to do without a CTO, you can't do without event management and producers to get you ready for conversations. My name is MK Palmore. I'm a founder and principal advisor at Apogee Global RMS. We're in the business of enterprise risk management. I've been occupying the cybersecurity space for quite some time. I had the opportunity to lead a very large-scale cybersecurity investigative team during my final years as a special agent with the FBI. And then I went on to lead at the executive level at Palo Alto Networks and Google Cloud as well. So I think this conversation is super relevant to what we're experiencing right now in terms of the ever-present use of artificial intelligence in the digital environments, and we're going to engage our panelists in some conversations around exactly what kind of impact AI is having on positions within organizations that we think were always necessary, and maybe how that's changing a little bit in the environment. So I'm going to give the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we're going to dive into the conversation. Why don't you start?
My name is Chris Burns. I'm the CEO of Techie Gurus. I'm in the cybersecurity business too, but I'm also in the technology space with small and medium businesses. We help them build the programs and the strategy that they should have had from day one, but they don't have. So we like to think that we help them scale by leveraging technology and cybersecurity.
I'm Giju Eldhose. I'm founder of ZCALO. We are also in the similar space where we are building custom solutions for SMBs and enterprises to kind of help them scale with the problems that they have. Now we leverage AI for all of that.
Yeah, before I get into myself, I just want to say what a great experience and an event. I think I was talking to my colleague yesterday, and I think there's 5 conferences going on. Yeah. So just the level of planning and execution is incredible. And it's an honor to be here to have this discussion today. But Luke Pierce, I'm the founder of Boom Automations. We primarily help mid-market companies implement AI and automation. We've been around for a little over 4 years, and we started out with low-code and no-code solutions. So I'm sure some of you might have heard of Zapier and Make.com and Airtable. So it's been always custom solutions, but now we do full stack integration and development. So custom AI solutions for mid-market companies.
Luke, why don't we keep you in the center seat here, starting with the discussion around the impact that you've seen AI have on relative positions in the organizations that you're advising and providing services to. What's that landscape look like right now?
Definitely. So I think pertaining to the topic at hand, CTOs, I'll kind of start there. I think CTOs will last. They're here to stay for sure. I think the overall staffing will stay the same in at least the short period of time and time frame. But if anything, CTOs will have to upskill and kind of oversee AI implementation and take over that process. So I think they're absolutely, we still need CTOs. I think you made the point that still need humans. I'm sure a lot of hands touched this event, so yeah, that's kind of my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think the title of the topic's meant to be provocative, but at the same time, there have been some shifts. I mean, I think we would all have to recognize that very large-scale organizations have eliminated thousands of positions, some very recent. In fact, this week, I know if you guys have been paying attention to what happened at Oracle, I think it was earlier this week. Yeah. So organizations are definitely looking at compacting their workforces. There's going to be a change. I don't know if that change happens from the bottom up or from the top down, but there is some reorganization afoot. Chris, what are you seeing?
Being in the small and medium business world, I see a lot of people just going out and just trying to implement AI without any strategy. Mm-hmm. So they don't even know what their employees are doing, which introduces a whole different level. And because I think the biggest problem we have in small and mid-sized companies is they just don't have strategic leadership. They don't have a CTO.
Right.
They don't have a CSO. They don't have any of that. So then they just rely on their people, and like you said, bottom-up approach to make those decisions. But realistically, we got to merge the two. I think we have to have a bottom-up and a top-down approach that meets in the middle someplace to satisfy the requirements of the business.
Yeah. Giju.
So now the small and medium businesses, when we deal with them, a lot of them doesn't need a CTO because they're not technology focused. Their business is something else, right? So when technology comes to play, sometimes they take help from companies like us to kind of do that implementation. But we are focusing completely on a company which is core tech, right? A Facebook or any of the companies of that scale, which is technology focused, which is providing technology solutions. Previously, the norms was there was a need for a CTO because it is there's somebody with a vision, the story, all of that, and then there is somebody who is capable of executing it. Now a shift that we see is because we work with a lot of startups who are on this technology space as well. What we see is a lot of times, previously a founder can come up with a PowerPoint. That's how it used to be. They'll come up with a PowerPoint, they can walk maybe somebody through the vision, all of that. But now with the capabilities, we are able to see founders or people with vision is able to move much further in the ladder, right? So they're able to get to a prototype state. Not just a clickable prototype, but something that is functional, working, all of that. So on that regard, if you look at the topic in question, right, do you really need a CTO? You are able to do that without a CTO to some phase. So that shift happens.
Right.
But after some point, when the scale hits, when you have to kind of plan for delivering this to millions of users, or how do you architect it to kind of manage different integrations, talk to other systems, then the technical competency is required. So we see CTOs coming in, and like you said, it's relevant as well, but the entry point is changed. And that shifts a lot of things because previously how all these things were structured, the technical person would be having a higher stake because he comes in very early. He's part of the execution from the very beginning. But now it is different. Right? Those dynamics we'll see changing. That is on the specifically to the CTO part that you were saying.
Yeah, let's stay on this topic of how the dynamics might change, because the example that you just outlined is what I'm experiencing as a business owner. Okay. I'm not a coder by trade. Again, I spent more than a decade in the cybersecurity space, but as a business owner, through Vibe coding and other platforms, I'm actually able to get to an MVP product without having to bring in someone who's technically proficient. And so by the time I do get to the stage where I need that high level of technical expertise, the CTO is actually looking at a product that's serviceable. It's got some glitches maybe, it's maybe not enterprise ready, but it's doing the task that I had envisioned it to do. So how does the dynamic then change when the stakeholder who needs the technology actually participates in the building of the technology? From my vantage point, again, non-developer, but I'm actually the one that delivered the MVP. How does the dynamic then change between the CTO and maybe the founder if the founders participated in the development of the product?
Very, very interesting point you made there. So here, what we observe normally is AI, in general, has made all of us very capable, right? There are a lot of skill sets that we previously didn't have, which we are able to kind of tap into. So I look at it like it's intelligence available at a price, right? At tokenomics. So now, when this particular dynamics happens, you will be co-building with the CTO. You will, because previously a lot of times, I could really see that in a lot of founders where they feel like their hands are tied because they don't have the technology capability, knowledge. Right. As simple as, hey, I want that button to move from here or the color to change. Previously they couldn't do. Now they are like, I don't want it. I can, get that done. So it enables them, right, which is a very powerful facet, right? So that is a shift that we're seeing, and it will be a co-building, and it is not just for the founder. It is kind of making those lines very blurry. Now, if you look at a QA person, right, testing. Now I see a lot of my engineers who are, the premium ones are spending a lot of time testing because they ask kind of, the whatever tool to kind of get something done, and then they are looking at the code to see, which is kind of, white box, right? You look at the lines, whether it has done the job right, and then it takes it from there, right? So a lot of people are able to contribute in a very powerful manner, and it is across. So that is how it's not just for the founder, but for everyone.
Luke, let's talk about an issue actually that Chris mentioned, governance, risk, and compliance, sort of the what might be considered the ungoverned use of AI within environments. What are you seeing in that regard, and what best practices, what things do you recommend to companies in terms of how they approach adoption of this new and very capable technology without the existing frameworks and governance that are needed to implement and use it?
It's a great question. It's an interesting topic too right now. I think it comes down to creating a strategy, as Chris mentioned, having a playbook, setting up accountability stakeholders, who's in charge of what up and down the value chain, depending on how the organization is structured. We had one of our clients right now, one of the builds and products that we built for them it's a custom product search engine, and we were calling Sonnet 4.5 for this product. And the customer of it, who we implemented it for, is a big electronic components company, and some of their biggest customers are government agencies, defense contractors. So a couple weeks ago, if you saw the big ordeal with Anthropic and the U.S. government, right? They pretty much banned the use of that. So we had to switch out the model to OpenAI. So I think in that sense, we didn't really plan for something like that, but we still had a very collaborative approach where you just need to stay on top of what you're using. And then, there was a great presentation yesterday as well about guardrails, setting up guardrails, and having that plan and structure in place when you do roll out a new product and for your organization.
Yeah. Chris, how are you thinking about shadow use of AI? That elicits a laugh, right?
It gives me nightmares. Yeah. Honestly, we've dealt with shadow IT for a long time, right? People, if you don't give people a tool to do their job, they're going to find a tool to do their job. Now it's AI, right? If you don't give them AI, if you say, it's banned, it's not going to work. They're going to go out, they're going to use AI, they're going to find a way to use it. Again, like I said before, we need to start at the bottom. We need to establish committees or whatnot for people who are actually doing the work, who are actually going to be managing the AI day to day, and meet with the strategic leaders of the company and come together on something to have a solution, have a strategy at the top that gets implemented throughout the company.
So I want to hear from all three of you about companies that are not only restricting use, but are sort of in decision paralysis about the use of artificial intelligence. What do you think is the key thing that's preventing these companies from moving forward? And two, are they making a mistake by not moving forward? Giju?
So it is a new reality, right? This is there. So if you're not, so I'll take a step back in terms of how the thought process. So a lot of time you would see a lot of people who are purists, right? So they just want to do it the hard way because they think it's right, gives them more control, right? And they have more visibility. It happened when people were writing, machine code, like when you're doing low-level programming. It used to give you a lot of efficiency. Your program is very efficient. You can run on any device with lock capability, all of that. Then when high-level programming languages come, be it C, Python, any of that, if you look at the actual generated output, right, it is still, there's a lot of inefficiencies. But the machines are able to kind of take care of that. The same shift is what we see happening now, right? AI is giving you that tool where a lot of times when actual human work was not required, but just because you didn't have the sufficient tools, you have to repeat it, right? So if you are building, 100 websites or 100 applications, every time you are supposed to kind of do the certain task again and again, right? So that particular aspect is getting taken care to a great extent right now. Then comes how does the logic work right now, right? So that is a big advantage of what generative AI is able to do, because now it is, if you look at how it actually works, right? You have systems from which it's learned certain patterns, and combining these patterns in an efficient way is what it's able to do. These building blocks is something which is a new reality, and I feel that as human progress. So if you're not, you can't stop something for its time has come.
Right.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
So organizations, due to compliance, governance, those kind of issues, if there is, restrictions that is there are always options out there. You have, models could be deployed at your premise, right? And, for an organization, if you're having a 30, 50 member organizations, then it is not a big cost that comes to you. And you don't have to use any, public, any Gemini, Cloud, any of those ones.
Right.
Right? Though there is always a way out. And I believe the constraints that we see right now with respect to, needing larger machines and a lot of compute, power, this will get optimized. That's what humans have done over a period of time, right? You might not find out the perfect solution first, but you optimize and, kind of make it affordable. All of that would happen, just like internet.
So Luke, same question. What are you seeing in the way of this sort of paralysis that's happening with some companies? And two, are they making a mistake by not moving on it?
Definitely. I actually ran a survey on some people in my LinkedIn audience, and 52%. It wasn't that big of a survey. I think there were only like 600 responses around there, but 52% of submissions said that
That's
they
actually rather statistically relevant. 600 respondents.
It's pretty,
That's pretty good.
It is good. Okay,
that's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. But 52% of respondents said they don't know where to start. So if you have, a 200, 250 person firm, you have different team leaders, you have different MPs. It's like, where do we even start in this process? And that's where having a good audit structure comes into play. Someone coming in and mapping everything out. Right. A lot of companies don't have accurate SOPs. We talk about context. With AI, you need correct context and data structure. There's processes are held in emails. Some are still operating out of Excel sheets. So starting from that 0 point is actually kind of a good thing in some instances. But yeah, I think a lot of companies just don't know where to start, honestly. And there's also, it could be industry specific as well. If you look at, law firms, they might not want to pass off, contractual writing and customer communication, things like that to an AI yet. They just don't feel comfortable, which I think is understandable. Mm-hmm. To the second question, absolutely. I think if you're not on top of this right now, you're making a mistake, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
Chris?
To your point, to both your points, I've seen both. I've seen companies that just throw AI at everybody and don't give them any direction at all, which is terrifying. And then the other thing is like, well, we're never going to use AI. All right, what's the compromise there? To your point about lawyers, right? Are they going to put their confidential information into an AI that's public? I hope not, right? So they have to have governance in their company to know what is the restrictions, like where do we work between and then pick an AI and work with the company to actually implement it. Give people direction. If you just give AI to somebody with no direction, nothing's going to happen. People just get paralysis. Like a good example is Copilot. It's easy to turn on. Data governance is there. All the stuff stays inside the Microsoft ecosystem, but then they don't train anybody how to use it. Right. So we just run into a situation there where it's like, okay, well, now what? So I'm more on the governance side of it, making sure that at the top we set those parameters for the company, for the employees, and then work with them to train them on how to actually use it inside the company and make improvements. Like pick a place in your business where you want to start. Maybe it's marketing because that's easy. Yep. Right. It's not really confidential information. Pick that and go with that.
Right. Yeah. Pick 1 to 5 high ROI opportunities. Yeah. Take care of those. Move on to the next thing. Absolutely 100%. Agree.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Probably don't start with the most critical thing in your enterprise as the place where you're going to begin to experiment with AI. Let's shift gears just a little bit. Folks like me, I'm rather bullish on the topic. I'm excited both about the prominence of AI, what it's capable of doing, and what the future holds, I think, for it. I think when we start thinking about people breaking into the technology space, I feel as though that space is changing dramatically. I think gone are the days where you could sort of plan out or step through the exercise of getting into technology, the degree, the certifications, this, that, the sort of method approach to getting into the space. How's AI going to change that? Because I think, to your point earlier, new and different capabilities are being asked of people, right? It's not sort of the old school, hey, I need you to be able to program in Python and do X, Y, and Z. Different things are being asked at different levels. What's it look like to break into the technology space right now, and where do you think that's headed?
Okay, interesting question. So we ground it back to the same point, right? Intelligence is available for a cost, right? And it is limitless. It is like, the entire knowledge that you had available is available in that particular system. Mm-hmm. And now the way, I come from India, right? So in India, this becomes a big problem to a great extent because, as you all know, there is a big outsourcing industry that is there. Right. And of this particular 30,000 layoffs happened, I guess 15,000 or something was in India, right? So I watched that ecosystem very closely, end to end, right? Because now, what is the point of this particular education if you're not going to find an opportunity? Because the reality is you have, you're making everybody do more. Now, a developer who could finish something in, say, 1 week's time, now it happens in a day's time, right? So now there is an amount of quantum of work that used to exist. It could be done by a small number of people. That's what's happening, right? So now they need to know is what is that, how can I use the system to get this work done? Now, from the education standpoint, the same thing need to be taught rather than the conventional, of course, if there is somebody who want to build a specialization, they can do that. But we need more people to be taught not on the a system side level of thinking to a problem level thinking, right? They need to be more, we need to see more problem solvers in the world who are able to use the technology, because we still see, we still have not solved something as simple as hunger, right? So there are problems out there in the world, which use of technology we will be able to solve. We as a species, if you look at, last couple of, months, what are we doing, right? A lot of these places, I, being somebody from the technology background, I believe that it could be solved. And that is what education needs to do right now. We need to kind of help them set the correct morals, like teach them empathy, because that is core in any product development. And then they need to look out for is not a degree, I have this degree and what do I do with that? Instead, they need to look at, okay, I am existing as a human. How I would be able to kind of contribute to kind of the current society to make it better. And you would identify problems. Now, when you identify problems, now it has made all of us very capable to kind of execute on something, build something. solve something. So that's how I see.
Luke, thoughts about democratization of knowledge, as he was just talking about? I mean, knowledge is widely available. And again, I think it changes the entry point for folks trying to break into the field. What are you seeing in terms of that shift in the landscape, and what do you think people should be concentrating on?
Yeah, I mean, the barrier to entry has basically been eliminated 100%. Any knowledge that you need or want. I mean, I think the time horizon, the time frame to go from zero to expert in some sort of field, obviously maybe not becoming a doctor and something like that, but that time frame is, I think you could become a top 10% at something in 30 days, top 1% in 60 days. Just looking at it from a humanity standpoint, cream will rise to the top, so people that take advantage of that will. But I think it's overall a good thing that there is the democratization of, information, and see what happens with it overall.
So.
I don't know about the 30-day thing, but that's a little quick.
It's ambitious.
Well, in my world, I've tried to bring young talent up, right? So to bring people through level 1, level 2, level 3, and get up to that. That's not happening in 30 days. I don't care how much information you pump into humans are still humans at the end of the day. We can only absorb so much information.
Right.
But you're right. Democratization of knowledge is something that's so cool. Because when I was coming up, or I'm sure when you were, we had to read books. You can watch videos now.
Lots of them, yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't have the playgrounds that you can go play in as much as you can today. So I think it makes it easier, but I think there's a very fine line there where we still have to deal with judgment, we still have to deal with experience, because at the end of the day, AI isn't responsible for the outcome, people are.
Yeah.
So the more we learn, the more we have to still apply that knowledge, and we still have to, because general intelligence isn't here yet. There's no guarantee it's going to be here in 5 years. Maybe it is. We don't know. So humans still have to are responsible for the outcome, are still responsible for the judgment aspect of that. So that's going to take time. So that's why the 30 days is, for some things, maybe, yeah, sure. But
right.
Let me be a little bit provocative, though. I spent my career in the risk management space, and specifically cybersecurity here in the last decade plus. Is there an argument to be made, again, take into account things like secure coding practices, response time, which has been an issue for cybersecurity practitioners 100%. Since the start. The idea that you can move faster with more efficiency and more precision with AI, is there an argument to be made that the direction that we're heading in is actually the right one, as opposed to what we've been seeing for 2 decades plus? And again, I'll throw cybersecurity under the bus here a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The stuff that I was briefing to boards of directors back in 2014 is still the stuff that's being briefed to boards of directors. I mean, the landscape has not changed that much. The adversary's still winning. They still are largely successful at what it is that they do. And there is an argument to be made, a chance maybe, that AI provides the kind of responsiveness with speed, precision, and reliability that maybe humans are just not capable of.
Have you seen the news with Anthropic and Mythos, their next model?
Tell them.
Oh, okay. Anthropic's new model is so powerful. They were identifying vulnerabilities in operating systems and things like that nobody knew existed. So instead of releasing it to the public first, they've now went to Microsoft, Google, all these software companies to say, here, you use it first.
Fix it.
Yeah, fix all your issues first before we release to the public, because we don't know what exactly we're unleashing on the world. And so, yes, to your point, yes, it's going to make it faster, and it does fix this. But a lot of the problems that we have today still are strategic issues, right? Like you said about talking to boards. AI governance is an important thing. We have to make strategic decisions at the top, and we have to apply that throughout the organization. I think for a lot of times in cybersecurity specifically, people are just like, oh, well, that's that company over there. Like they're getting hit. We're not going to get hit. And until it happens to you, and then all of a sudden, then you spend the money. You spend the money either way. The money's going to be spent. The budget's going to be spent.
I like to say spend thousands now so you don't have to spend millions later.
Yeah, because I think the tactics have changed, though. And AI has accelerated the difference of tactics, too. right? So we see phishing emails now that are way more
Personalized.
Yeah, they're way more personalized. People get tricked a lot easier. The spelling is correct. The language is correct. Like, they don't have to think about it. They're like, oh, cool, I'm sending somebody in the south of the United States. Cool, let's put a little southern twang to this. And like, let's talk
solve the grammar problem.
Yeah, and it really, and at the end of the day, we're still dealing with humans. Humans make mistakes.
Yeah.
So
What's happening right now is, like we said, AI has enabled everybody to operate at a higher level.
Yeah.
The same happened with the threat actors also, right?
Yeah.
Now they are also having this tool, and of course, how they were winning before, they're able to accelerate that as well, right? Of course, the landscape right now, when you are able to look deep, right, you would identify these issues in any system. Till this time, there was not much tools and systems capable of looking deep. There were people always identifying zero-day vulnerabilities and kind of attacking. So this is going to be a pattern. The way to counter that is enabling more guardrails, systems, configuring. And one point there is that initial point that we discussed, right? When the founder took the product out, right? That is a risk that we see a lot of times because they think only from the vision standpoint and implementing what it is. Security is something that is not something that they think about, right? Because 90% of the people are just, very positive. They just see the good side of stuff, right? Now, somebody can seriously break it. So that is one exercise that when a CTO or anybody who comes at a later point has to kind of be very thorough so that these things does not go out in public. You can have something tested, built, all of that, but before it goes out, something like this is very much required. Yeah. So
like that.
The capabilities are like that.
Luke?
Chris, I want to ask with the Mythos news, because you're more on the governance side. Do you think that it's a possibility that it's like a masterful PR play, and marketing play, or it's actually that powerful?
No, I think it's that powerful.
Do you think it's that powerful?
It's possible, very possible.
Yeah.
As much as they're charging for it, it better be that powerful.
Yeah.
I saw the pricing of it. And this is just the beginning, right? So.
Yep.
And the reason for that is also, if you look at most of the operating system, like, the public servers and all of that, the code is out there.
Yep.
So when these systems learn, and these are the things that are fed to learn, it can, of course, look from a threat actor standpoint and identify a gap.
Well, think about how many attacks it can run through in a short period of time versus a human, right? So
Yep.
just automating
We
it.
have not even reached quantum, so.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that we're not talking enough about is the idea of velocity and how quickly this is evolving. I think that, probably every week I see a new platform, a new capability across maybe marketing or advertising circles, or there's some new entity that or organization that's claiming to be able to lessen the amount of times I have to spend on screen, as a founder and leader of an organization. That so much can be automated. The speed and pace with which this is moving is a little bit scary because, to your point about Claude and Anthropic, I'll tell you candidly, when I first put my hands on Claude more than a year ago, I wasn't very impressed with it compared to some of the other models.
No.
And since then, it has leaped the field for me as a user and business owner to the top, which means to me that organizations are actually moving fast, breaking things, iterating, and learning much faster than they had historically. So this product that's now widely available to the public, in my eyes, has gone from the bottom of the scale to the top of the scale in just a 12-month time span. That changes the way that we think about buying tools. It changes the way that we think about how we're actually going to be able to accomplish things as business leaders. So that velocity component, as business owners and leaders, how do you think about how quickly we're moving through this space, how it's quickly changing things, from, as you just described, from 1 month to the next, you might be dealing with a completely different scenario because of how this is evolving. We're in the third inning of a 9-inning game, and it's already moving at light speed. How are you thinking about that speed and velocity? How does it impact your decision making?
It's allowed us to do things with data inside of our company that we weren't able to do before. So we're able to make decisions faster. But when you talk about AI and the acceleration of it, I'm looking at the future from a cybersecurity perspective. When are we going to be able to deploy agents to help fight? Right?
Yeah.
It's not quite there yet. Some companies are working on it, but I don't think it's quite there yet.
Hey, are you more faithful now that that will actually happen more so than you have been in the past?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not. Agentic AI is the future, regardless of what we want to talk about. It's just a matter of when is it going to get to where we need to solve the problems in our business, right? So, but I also deal with technology side of the business. So it's when we deliver technology to customers, that's still mostly human. You can do chatbots, you can do things like that, but for the most part, that's mostly human. And that's where I'm kind of interested in seeing where we can go with that. Can we solve problems for end users faster, not just the cybersecurity side, but just like keep them productive, to keep them moving forward, so they can use Claude or they can use something that the company's decided to use. Right.
So my perspective here is, of course, the speed at things happen is only going to accelerate because it will, and as a leader, it will be tough for us to kind of keep track of it, right? The thing that we can do is put governance in place and give, to some extent, freedom to people underneath and make those responsibilities kind of componentized, so that a particular aspect of governance and function is with a particular section. So that is the way. It's like previously, why were we relevant, right, as leader or a founder? Because there was a way in which you thought, there was an experience that you had, a thought process that you had. Now you can, in theory, not in theory, to a great extent, kind of transfer your context about your product vision as an agent to your team. So you don't have to be available. A particular function, when they have to execute on something and to get your viewpoint on it, they can very well kind of check with your persona for that particular function and get the response. And maybe then they just need to kind of cross-check with you. Hey, is this good? So that is the governance part. It can give you a kind of input on your behalf, but they can't execute it without checking with you, right? But it frees up a lot of your time. And this is pretty much how we see the future is moving. Because you see that in coding, right? The function that the coder used to execute, somebody else did it, and before you kind of commit, push, deploy, you review it, check it, and you do that. That's how it will scale.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the velocity and the sheer speed at which things are moving right now is a big topic of discussion. There's something new every day. Basically, you open up LinkedIn, you open up X, there's a new product, there's a new VC-backed startup that solves every problem in your business. So, coming from a business owner perspective and a lot of conversations that we have, it's just the sheer overwhelm that can feel like, because it's like, what is actually going to move the needle in my business? Is it this tool or is it this tool? So that's where, you got to hone in on your operations, understand your business inside and out, and then make those adaptations. So, yeah, and then you expand the time horizon. I feel like I've said time horizon a couple times, down like 10 years, and it feels like everything's going to go to zero eventually, It's like we're at just from this, looking at it from this exponential speed and increase of capabilities.
Definitely truncated. I want to round the corner here and give the folks here some practical things that they can use in the workplace when thinking about AI. I know we started with the topic of whether or not you could essentially eliminate a CTO. I think the short answer to that was no. You still need a CTO. I think they're just operating at a different level, maybe and engaging at a different point in the decision process and the evolution of technology within the business. But in terms of practical adoption, practical lessons, let's end with each of you giving sort of what your high takeaway is for the folks listening to you. What should they be thinking about? Like, what do you want to leave them with? Something actionable that they can walk away with. Chris, why don't we start with you?
I think Luke said it best earlier when he said, know your processes. Know your processes, and then just pick something, like I said, about marketing or sales, something that you can just automate today, tomorrow, by Monday. Maybe it's just your email cleanup. Maybe it's something you learn, and then you can teach it throughout your entire organization. Pick something small and start with it, and then pass it throughout the organization.
Okay.
So my take would be like, no organization should adopt AI just because it's a cool kid in town, right? So you need to kind of identify a problem that is solvable by AI, right? Yeah. And so there are certain characteristics that you can look for. Where do you need high human touch points, right? And is it something that you can offset, right? Or so any problem where your current, you see a limitation with people in your organization, and that is very critical for your business, right? That could be one place where you can start using. Of course, there could be specific examples, but this is what, as a thought process, you can look into. So don't just use it because everyone is using it. Look at your business, look at the pain point, the problem that you feel is somewhere, hitting you so hard, and see how, and of course, if anybody in the room want to kind of course, reach out on LinkedIn, we can kind of have a conversation to kind of help you how to do that. So identify that particular problem, and then kind of see what part of that is right now. You might already have systems in place, right? It's not something like AI is that holy great, one day it's going to change everything. Mm-hmm. It need to work with your existing systems, because a lot of times these kind of changes are with respect to people, resistance, emotions. It's not just a technology coming and solving. So then you kind of think of a plan where of this entire workflow, which is that place where AI can solve it, and introduce it there. Don't change the entire workflow. Just adopt it, phase by phase, part by part.
Okay. Yeah, those are two great. I would just basically say the same exact thing. Understand your processes, physically sit down and map them out. It'll open up every opportunity you could think of. Map your tech stack out. Like you said, don't tear everything up. There's no reason to do that as long as you have a decent data structure. So you're using NetSuite and Salesforce. How can you layer agentic AI on top of those, without tearing everything up and messing up workflow? So, that audit process, just going through that.
Yeah, that's right. I think, the takeaway could be, if you have not done anything, do that audit process could be there.
Yep.
And I would just say, seek assistance, tag in for help. Don't suffer paralysis when it comes to decision making related to AI. There are lots of folks with tons of experience, deep technical expertise that can help you wade your way through this exercise of how to implement this technology. Yeah. So I want to say thanks to the panel. Luke, how can folks find you?
LinkedIn, just Luke Pierce.
The name of your company again?
Boom Automations.
Okay.
Giju Eldhose, ZCALO, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, same thing. Chris Burns, Techie Gurus.
Yeah, MK Palmore, Apogee Global. Thanks. Appreciate your time, Jeff.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's hear it for the panel.
That's good, dude.